years since we filmed a video together. We're Big Fat Big. We make music. We know
It has been a while.
and action. We're Big Fat Big. We usually make music, but now we make YouTube videos. Welcome back to our channel.
So last week was results week for GCSE and like A-level and BTEC students. Which is a very scary time for people. I think when you're that age, like 16, 17, 18, like those results feel like either the beginning of the rest of your life or the end of the world, either way. So because we are like really old and decrepit now, me and Katie are both 23, meaning that we started college 7 years ago.
That's sickening. I know that 23 isn't old, obviously we're still babies, but then at the same time I'm like, how has that much time passed? Like, how has that much time passed? So we feel like we as women in like creative industries and who have studied creative subjects have a little bit of like wisdom, if you want to call it that, to impart on people who may be in similar positions as us. So we just wanted to kind of discuss whether it was worth it for us, our experiences, what we got from it, what we wished that we'd got from it, that maybe we didn't, and just kind of take some time to reflect on this very nostalgic time in our very ancient brains. Oh. For some context, me and Robyn both went to college straight after we finished school when we were like 16. We studied music. Is it like just a music BTEC?
We did a music BTEC. I don't know if it's called that now. It might have changed. Who knows? When we went to college, we did school together. Katie studied music at school. I didn't. I studied drama instead. And then straight out after school, we both did the music BTEC, and I did the drama A-level alongside that. The drama A-level we do not speak of.
It was a dark time.
I have honestly blocked most of it out of my brain, intentionally, completely. So this, just to be very clear, is our experiences with those particular subjects. We're not saying like, do go to uni or don't go to uni. This is just our experiences, what we gained from it, and like things that we kind of wish had gone differently and stuff like that. We do have quite different experiences, even though we went to same unis and studied like similar subjects and stuff like that.
I feel like a lot of it crosses over because we went to college together and studied music there on the same course and stuff. It's easy to group that amount of time together,
in
like those 2 years, and then our uni experiences were quite different, obviously doing different courses. So it might overlap, but also like if we're talking about different times like college or uni, we'll say which specific experience we're talking about, because I do think there are like different sides to it, like 100%. They are both different experiences.
Yeah. College, I personally have absolutely no cons for.
It was a good time. We had a brilliant time.
We were so lucky to have the experience that we did. It was very daunting going into that environment as like two 16-year-old girls. There was a lot of older boys in our class. Who they were only a year older than us, but when we went in, we were convinced we'd like walked into a degree class.
They looked like men and we were like little girls.
Yeah, but maybe like a week in, I think we were both just so sure that it was the best decision that we could have made. And even now, like 7 years later, I'm still so sure that there is no course that I could have done differently.
I think I feel the same. I think one of the main things that I'm pleased I did back then was to go with the BTEC instead of A-levels, because there was quite a lot of pressure on both of us to pick A-levels, because a lot of universities will recognise A-levels over a BTEC, even though that's not how it works with UCAS points, but that's just the advice that we were given.
It's stigma around BTECs, isn't it? A lot of the time when people are talking about BTECs, it's people who maybe didn't do as well, and I just think that's absolute bullshit.
It is bullshit, and like that wasn't our experience either. We both did quite well in school, shockingly.
We actually did really well in school.
And I think
that's the last time I used my brain, bro.
So the fact that we both chose to go with a BTEC, even when some people were telling us not to do that and to pick A-levels instead, I think that was a really
like smart decision to have made, because it just meant that we could like focus properly on music, and I felt like it was way more like enriching. Like the course as a whole was it was like really practical, and like I don't think a course of A levels would have been like that.
Well, we know people that did the A level, and I know a lot of them feel very differently about that course than we do about ours. And I don't really think that it was just us. I don't know whether we just have a really good course in Sunderland. If you are local to Sunderland and are just kind of out of school and are interested in music, I could not recommend looking into the music BTEC at Sunderland College enough. The staff there, like to this day, the best teachers that I've ever had in my whole entire life.
But obviously a lot of people don't have that experience and don't have like amazing teachers and lecturers to like give them that, like they were like proper role models to us, and like I mean they still are, like I still think of them so highly in my mind, and they gave us so much at that time. But I understand that not everyone is going to have that experience.
I think it's obviously important to just touch on the fact that obviously really luckily we come from families who weren't pushing us into doing A levels, who weren't pushing us into academic subjects. We quite easily could have done A levels and done like maths and English and sciences and all of those things, but it's just not for us. Like as kids who wanted to be musicians and who wanted to be performers later in life, and who obviously we still do, it wasn't a phase, like it's not a phase, wow. Like it really isn't a phase. We never grew out of that. Our parents were like good enough to recognise that. We didn't have any pressure from anywhere else. Obviously everyone's situation's entirely different, but I do think it's important to say that like this time in your life is so, like obviously it's not the be all and end all, and you can always study again at a later date and stuff like that, but it's such a valuable time to be learning new skills, and the older that you get, the harder it does become to kind of like have the confidence to do these things.
A lot of people talk about having a backup, meaning like doing something more academic. So I get the need to have a backup, but also at the same time, like what if you pick something you don't want to do? What if you like die when you finish uni? I know that sounds horrendous, but like you don't know like what's going to happen in like 3, 4, 5 years time. What's the point in studying something that you don't want to do? I get that there's security in doing something more like mainstream or whatever, but that's a lot of the time. I remember just saying to my mum, like, it's not fun. Like I don't want to do those other things.
I still feel that way. Like I still feel that way to this day.
And I'm not gonna let go of that. Like all I want to do in my life is have fun.
Why should I do anything else? Why should I do anything else?
Doing music is fun.
If you are lucky enough to have found your passion in music, some people can go their entire lives without knowing what they're passionate about. If you're lucky enough to know at like 16 or 18 that that's what you are passionate about, to not act on that, then obviously it's not irreversible and it's not the end of the world if your situation doesn't allow that. But if you can and you're able to, then you, in my opinion, you absolutely should just do it. I wouldn't be in a band if I hadn't gone to college. I wouldn't be in bands at all. I wouldn't even really like consider it as an option.
Even though I wasn't in a band, like, because you were in a band while we were in college, and that wasn't my experience. Like that's only come about more recently, but I still think if I didn't go to college then and do music then I still wouldn't be doing big.
It's like the exposure, isn't it? Like the exposure to other people who were doing it. We originally did want to do A levels because that's what we were kind of being pushed towards. I remember having a conversation with teachers in secondary school, and they were all like, I wouldn't say disappointed, but a little bit taken aback by the fact that we weren't really like passionate about taking the subjects that we were academically good at further, just because we weren't bothered, we weren't interested.
One of my main pros about doing like any kind of higher education is that like you learn stuff that you will, like your mind gets opened in a way that it otherwise wouldn't have. And in this country we have quite good access to education, and I think if you can access it then you should take that opportunity. But then at the same time I'm like, you wouldn't have done anything with that. You would have, like, it would have been fine at the time, but it wouldn't have changed your life.
It would have been, I would have done it because I thought I had to do it. One of the biggest things that I got from college was just like time and like space, and like those 2 years now, this time last year feels like a couple months ago. But in college, a year felt like a year.
A long time.
It felt like a much longer time. Like those 2 years at college for how much they did for me. They, like, you would think that I was there for years and years and years. And it kind of just gave me the time to evaluate things. It was time without any pressure. Like you were saying earlier, it's a bit of like a safe space to
like make mistakes and like try and figure out like who you want to be in your discipline, like where you fit within like yourself as an artist. Like I said, making mistakes I think is one of, like, that's what I learned from like doing things and then looking back and thinking like I wouldn't do that like that now.
If I look at songs that I was writing like 5 years ago and I look at songs that I'm writing now, if I hadn't wrote the songs that I wrote 5 years ago, I would still be writing those songs now, like if I tried now. So like the amount of stuff that you learn and the time that takes is just so valuable for me.
And to do that in a safe space that like, and also like just literally having the space to do that, as in like being able to go in and use practice rooms and stuff.
It's such a privilege, isn't it?
Yeah,
such
like,
a
that's
privilege.
a huge thing, and especially when if you're doing like something performative, like we were, like music. A lot of the time you can't do that at home. Like I can't turn my amp up loud, whereas you can go into a practice room and do it there. And like if we didn't have like college to do that in, it just wouldn't be a thing. I suppose this is like, it's talking about our experiences, but it's also like advice. But we still don't know what we're doing.
No, God,
it's just
no.
that like you just constantly learn, and like these are
some of the
like,
things that we've learned.
Yeah.
I had my first proper gigs with college, and we like wrote stuff for the first time without like being worried that it was shit. And like it was, but like it doesn't matter. Like it doesn't matter. It gave you the opportunities to do that. And with that comes so much confidence. And it's so gradual, like you don't notice it at first. But when I look back, even from the beginning, like from being 18 and looking back to the 16-year-old that started, it's like unrecognisable. Like I don't even remember being that.
I think as well, like it was really important, like to have like opinions and to have praise from your peers.
Encouragement,
yes, from your peers and from like our teachers and stuff. It meant so much because we really valued their opinion. And I don't think we'd really experienced that before. Like we had some good teachers in school and that, but it's not when you really see someone like as a role model, or like even our friends, like we thought they were so cool playing in bands and stuff.
Our first couple of days of college, we were waiting at the bus stop to come home, and we were like
so cool.
starstruck by these people because they were all so good at what they did. Like for being 16, 17, I think the oldest one might have been 18.
Yeah.
At the time, those opinions mattered more than anyone's in the world, because it was the first time that we'd ever experienced connections like that.
Yeah, like you say, it was just so confidence building, having people like care about what you do and then also compliment you on that and like push you to move forward with it. Like we wouldn't have had that if we didn't do like a BTEC full time in music. It just wouldn't have been the same. Our uni experiences were quite different from our college experiences. I took a year out when I finished college just because I didn't feel like I was ready to go to uni. Like I just was kind of a bit bored of being in education and I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I was just like working and doing random stuff, just living my life. And then I decided to go and do performing arts at Sunderland Uni, whereas you went straight into it.
I went straight into it, yeah. I think before we go on to talk about like our experiences, like if you are thinking about taking a year out or anything, that's also like a completely valid choice.
After some time off, you know, like you have the space to think about things, and if you're like doubting whether you want to go or not, I think it's like because you can always go back.
It's such a huge commitment.
Yeah, so
it's
like,
a massive commitment.
Also, doing a creative degree specifically is like, you have to be, I find anyway, in the right headspace to be able to do it properly. And I think as an 18-year-old coming out of college, I wasn't feeling really creative or anything.
In creative subjects in general, not even subjects like creative industries or whatever in general, like you put so much of yourself into it, and if you've got nothing left to give to like look after yourself, then that's such a huge factor. Straight from college, I did a foundation degree in music, so it was based at the same place that I went to college. It was with the same lecturers that I went to college. It was with a lot of the same people who'd done the college course. And then at the end of that 2 years, I then did the top-up year, so it kind of turns it into a full degree, honours degree in music, and I got a 2-1. at the end of my degree.
So I was at Sunderland Uni. I also got 2-1. And I think for my first 2 years, I was really engaged in the course, and for my third year, I had some personal stuff going on and I wasn't as engaged. And I think that like stuff comes up, and I'm really glad that I managed to graduate when I did, because like I'm just glad it's done.
Yeah.
But then in other ways, I'm like, if I'd have taken a year out between my second and my third year and graduated later, then I might have been able to get first and get more out of my third year, because like it is really an important time.
I think obviously it didn't help that your third year was when COVID was.
Yeah.
Well. Like that, if you're already not having the best time, and then like everything shuts down and you're not able to use the facilities, you're not able to see the people.
As a performing arts degree, both of the courses that we did were so practical, and that was like my favourite thing about it. I loved how practical the courses were, and if you can't do that because of COVID, I would just wait.
Yeah.
Like I know that's not an option for everyone, because some people like you have to go into it straight away, but like if you've got the option to wait until the COVID shite's over, wait.
And be able to like actually experience your full degree.
Yeah.
We're both very academically capable, or were.
Before we stopped using it.
But even so, the worst parts for me of my degree were the boring essays, like dissertation shit, like sitting down and writing. Overall, my uni experience was fine, is probably the best word for it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I wish I'd done differently. If I knew then what I know now, then I don't think that I would have done the degree that I did. I don't think I would probably have chosen where I studied. At the time, a massive pro for me was the fact that I already knew everyone, and like all of my friends that I'd already made were doing this course. Now when I look back, that is probably the biggest con that I can think of. I wasn't forced into any uncomfortable situations. I was comfortable for my entire university experience, where now I wish that I'd pushed myself into those uncomfortable situations. So I think that's definitely something to bear in mind.
I didn't move away, and I still got the opposite experience to yours, in that like I didn't know anyone on my course at all. I didn't know any of the lecturers, I didn't know anyone on the course, and that was absolutely terrifying. I remember saying like, because someone came with me on my first day, and I remember saying if they didn't come with me, I wouldn't have gone in, because I was just so scared. But everyone was feeling the same, and it turned out fine. Like it turned out to be like a really good experience. I've got a whole new set of people who I can learn from. The life experience that I got from uni was like, that was the main thing for me, and I think that's kind of what you missed out on a bit, because 100%. You didn't get any.
At the same time, my situation, I'm also in another band, and we were doing a lot of stuff at the time. Moving away just wasn't an option for me, like at the time, and even now, like it just wouldn't be an option. My life is in the northeast.
Yeah, I just don't want to move out of the northeast, and this is one of my cons, is that I felt a lot of what I learned at uni was only relevant in the real world if you were willing to move
to like London or something.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that.
The expectation is like, if you don't move to London, then you're not going to make it, or if you don't move to like Birmingham or Manchester or bigger cities, you're never going to make it. But like, that's just not true.
It's not true. I understand that like there are more options down there, maybe like to have like full-time roles in the industry, but like
it's not the only option.
It's not the only option, and like you can make anything happen like wherever you are, especially because so much of the industries are online now.
A lot of that stuff that we learned was relevant. Like, okay, so when you inevitably end up moving elsewhere, this is what you'll do, instead of these are the connections that you've got on your doorstep, because there's plenty of them, and it doesn't matter where you're from or what background you come from. Like, those opportunities are there if you work hard enough for them.
A massive pro of my course was like that the lecturers really cared about giving us the chance to meet people who were working in the industry, like as professionals, and that was like really invaluable to me, and I know other people on the course as well. It opened up massive doors. There are people up here doing creative jobs full time and have been doing that for years. It's really cool just to see people doing creative jobs, because especially where we came from, like when we were little, I didn't know anyone who did a creative job. I didn't know it was, like, you could do that, like, and get paid for it. I also think as well that networking that we did then still comes up now, even if it's not like necessarily like relevant in my life now. So like I still get messages like every couple of months being like, oh, I saw this job and I thought it might be good for you.
The way that you learn how to approach people and like the conversations that you end up having with people. That was definitely something that I benefited from going to university.
The life lessons that you get, obviously you can get that from doing any degree, but because creative degrees can be so practical, it's way more just about like how you carry yourself and like how you fit in to the industry.
Before we did college and uni, in my head it was like if you were good you would be successful, but that's not the case. Like, you've got to be good, you've got to have a good attitude, you've got to have a good work ethic, you've got to be able to speak to people properly. You learn how to be so much more and how to like have so much more in your back pocket straight away just by going. A big kind of negative of my degree was a lot of people do see creative subjects as like a bit of a piss take. If you don't love music, don't do it at uni. Like, why are you here?
I know.
You're paying £9,000 a year to be here to do a subject that you don't even want to do. Like, what the fuck?
I know.
It doesn't make any sense.
Time wasted.
Because it is such a practical degree, you do have to rely on people a lot.
And you kind of pick who you're working with in that case. You don't get to pick who you're working with. Like, obviously, in the outside world, you can do what you fucking want, but like in that situation, you've got to make it work with what you're given, and that can be really, really hard. And that's the thing when you leave uni, or if you don't go to uni at all, you can, if you think someone's wasting your time, you can just tell them to piss off. But obviously you can't do that in the uni setting. And I think like it kind of makes you realise that like who you work with really, really matters. The funding here is just, it just doesn't exist. Like,
but I think that's especially in the Northeast, but it is just an industry thing. The funding for music and the funding for arts is not good. I literally spent the last year of my degree in the basement of the uni, like
in a horrible building too.
However, our college experience was very different to that, which is why I kind of don't regret going to a different uni, because the funding at our college for music was amazing. It was completely brand new equipment. The rooms were all soundproof. There was an amazing studio, like, and then going from that to the basement, like, it was a bit of a shock.
If you don't have your own equipment and your college or uni also can't provide that because they've also got no funding, then like you're gonna have to figure something out. And like I figured it out. I couldn't ever afford to like buy my own gear and stuff, and uni certainly didn't provide that. I just like muddled my way through it. So you can do it, it's just something else to think about.
A little bit harder. So in general, would you say your degree was worth doing?
Aye.
I would also say that. I know I've just slagged it off for ages, but I would say that my degree was worth doing. More so college for me was the part that kind of shaped us as like a musician and an artist and stuff.
I think like it's definitely not essential, like in the industries that we want to be in or that we are in, it's not essential. You meet loads of people who like either don't go to uni at all or college at all, or have done like academic subjects as opposed to creative ones, and so it's definitely not essential in the slightest.
But in terms of doing a creative degree, I don't think there was another option for me.
No, well there wasn't. When I think back, I'm like, what
else
would I be doing? But even now, what
am I doing?
What's going on? If that's what you care about, then like obviously it's worth doing.
Yeah. That's it.
Bye.
Thanks so much for watching. I feel like it's going to be a long video, so sorry. But also, I really hope that it was helpful. Good luck with your uni, and if you don't get the results that you want, or you didn't get the results that you want, it is not the end of the world. Do what is best for you. Try not to let other people push you into a direction that you don't want to go in. Hope it's been helpful. Subscribe if you want. We make music usually. All of that's going to be linked in the description of this video. And follow us on all the socials.
Thanks so much for watching.
Thanks
to be
so
honest,
much
if
for
you made it this
watching.
far, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.